What is going on, everybody? Let's talk about gate 2, receptivity, receiving, being open to receive what the universe has for us. In astrology, this is Taurus, and in tarot, this is the high priest. In the I Ching, this is called the receptive power, and this energy is all about receiving. It is purely feminine. It is about being in flow and really magnetizing things towards us or bringing things in versus the more masculine gate 1, which is all about the power of giving, or the opposite of receiving. So it's kind of the yin and the yang of the beginning of the human design, I Ching, where the 1 or the first gate is more masculine, and this energy is all about the feminine and magnetizing things towards us. It's located in the G center, going down to the sacral. So this is really the quintessential receiving gate, emphasizing the power or the feminine or the power to attract and really manifest our desires through sincerity and patience. Lord knows I need the patience and have been developing a lot more. And so I definitely do feel this energy starting to come about us, as I'm definitely ready to receive and have been very patient over the past year, releasing a lot of things to get into a position to be able to receive what the universe has for me. Can't say I've been in that position in years. I've had a lot of other things, quote unquote, on my plate. I had a job or a 9 to 5. I was doing a newsletter. I was working with my wife, when in reality, none of those things are what I feel myself going towards in the future. So it also teaches, or this gate also teaches us about staying in our rhythm, which is really the rhythm with the universe, and using our personal intuition to really help guide us in the world, versus being more of a action oriented, instead of waiting, being patient. And this gate encourages us to strengthen and transform our energy in personally facilitating our evolution. But then as we evolve, we just naturally help the collective evolve through our own personal evolutions. All right, so what I've been feeling over the past couple of weeks, last week was all about reasoning, rationalizing, being in the mind. And we're moving now towards, all right, we've thought through things and we've gotten out of our heads now. We went into the body. So we moved our body last week. I just came from playing tennis, so that helps us get out of our heads into our bodies. And so now we're in a position where we can receive the things we've been asking for and what we're looking to manifest. And since this gate is feminine, when you think about women giving birth, think about the womb being a center of creation and manifestation. But the womb doesn't necessarily have to go out and do any actions. It's once the seed is planted, once you plant the seed in the soil just kind of does its thing. You don't have to force it. It just kind of naturally happens. And that's what we're moving into this week with this energy. And when we reflect on more of a metaphysical level, and the concept of the feminine, or it actually starts to talk about our ultimate truth, and that's seeding life into the earth, as I just mentioned about putting seeds to be planted, putting the seed in the womb as in a child to be birthed, and being receptive to what the universe is going to bring us. So things you may want to consider or reflect on is what areas in your life are you blocked from receiving? What areas, as people like to say, are you blocking your blessings? Right? Do you need to do some meditation or do some shadow work to figure out what's stopping you from getting the things that you want? Particularly for me, the things that have been standing in the way, as I mentioned, was working a full-time job and also thinking that what I need to do outside of that, because I've always wanted to have a business and run things on my own, but thinking that that had to look a certain way. And so I was working as a engineering manager, and I work in IT with AI and technology. So I was thinking that whatever I did at the end of the day had to be in that field, when in actuality, I really love talking about human design. I really love studying ancient wisdom and learning about it and sharing it with others. So I had to completely remove that newsletter off of things I was doing. I was also doing work with my wife and another business that we have called the Self Trust System. And I started working full time maybe about 4 years ago now, before I got laid off. And we started the company, which is called the Self Trust Company, and we created a patented system called the Self Trust System. We created that together, but even that wasn't fully aligned, or isn't fully aligned with where I want to go and how I want to do it. So I had to release that, and now I'm finally getting to a point where I feel I can start to receive what's coming to me, and have time to do the things that I desire, to be able to make those things happen, such as creating these videos and doing everything around social media to get the word out. And I've done it before with my other businesses, but to be honest, this is probably the most excited I've been. It feels the most natural. It doesn't feel rushed. It doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like a burden, and it doesn't feel like something I just have to do to be quote unquote successful, right? So consider where those blocks may be, and then trust your manifestation process. And you might want to just meditate along the lines, or thinking along the lines of, where do I want to be in the future, and where areas can I develop my self-trust, trusting in the universe, so that the desires that I have can actually become reality. Let's talk about the shadow. So in the shadow, there's a forcefulness, and we tend to recklessly spend or let go of resources. Definitely feel like I've done that in past businesses, where I was trying to make it happen, and that's not what I'm here to do as a generator. I'm here to respond. So definitely been spending a lot of my life trying to make it happen, with some success, but not any success, and I haven't been so successful at it quite yet. So kind of the genesis of my channel and the new brand that I created around success, and redefining what success actually means to you. So spending money, spending resources, and you add that with doubt and anxiety about doing all those things, we can tend to be in our shadow bag pretty heavy. And for us to be, or come to some enlightenment through the shadows, because the shadows are portals to enlightenment. Without our shadows, we wouldn't know what are the higher frequencies, or we wouldn't have anything to compare them to. So when it comes to coming out of the shadow into the enlightenment, you want to think about your grounding, your source, whatever creator you believe in, whichever system helps you out. I am not biased against any of them. They all work for everyone, or for some of us, like some and some like the others. But whatever you like, use that, and use it to return to a higher state of awareness And once you become more aware, you can then be more open to receiving because you're more in your awareness that you haven't been open to being as receptive. So in human design, this is in the G center and it's going to the sacral. And gate 2 is home of something called the magnetic monopole, which, long story short, it attracts the creative process towards us. The universe directs the creative process towards us. So for this week, if there's something that's been on your mind that you're trying to birth, literally talking about receiving into this world, now, this is the week where it's going to start coming to you. You've been getting out of your mind for the past week. You've been getting into your body to really understand what it is you truly desire. And now that you've gotten clear, you're available to receive what's coming. So in human design, this is also part of the individual circuit, which is all about empowering us to discover our uniqueness and how we want to align with the universe. That's the church bell. All right, let's try that again now that church is over. This is part of the individual circuit, which empowers us to discover our uniqueness and determine or figure out how we are here to receive our destiny. So again, it's about being receptive, receptivity, but particularly finding out our special way to receive from the universe. Not everyone's going to manifest the same way. As I just mentioned, there are a bunch of different religions, modalities, things people follow, human design, and everyone's here to find their uniqueness on their own path. For me, right now, it's through human design. It may be something different later, but this gate is all about powering us to find the way for us to open up and be more receptive. All right, so let's talk about the strategy of this gate. And this is a gate that has generated energy. So that means that we are to respond to this gate. So this means all about responding to external signs and synchronicities. And even though not all of us are generators or are sacral beings, this energy is still harnessed in a generative way for projectors, manifestors, and reflectors. And they do that by responding to what feels uplifting and energizing to them. So we know that we are in this energy and it is activated when our individual experiences are in harmony with the greater good, with the greater universe, and most importantly, in harmony with ourselves, and we feel, a good connection with our power, with our intuition, and with the power that guides us, and that we are feeling good about the transformational process of what we are receiving and what we're about to birth into the world. In shadow, we can feel lethargic, being lost, burnt out. A lot of people are burnt out these days, particularly if you have a job, or as society has told us, you got to be a go-getter, you got to make it happen. No one says sit back, relax, let it come to you. Well, some people do, more are saying it, but in general, particularly in the US, it's a go-get it type of country atmosphere. And yeah, I mean, I was burnt out when I had a job, trying to make it happen at work, also make it happen in my own business and make it happen with my family. And so, yeah, I had to release a bunch of things to become more receptive. And one of the things I remember a lot back when I had more on my plate was I was always telling myself randomly, I'm tired. I would just randomly just blurt it out, like subconsciously. So definitely was able to get out of that. Don't really say that to myself too much unless I'm actually tired these days. It also in shadow brings out overthinking and decision made by the mind versus leaning more on, as we talked about, with gate 24 last week, the internal, our heart, and our intuition, we're still in our heads. And if you're still in your head, we still need to work on releasing and coming out of the shadow energy of this gate. And one thing that I have a tendency to do is to rely on logical thinking as an engineer, as someone who's always been good at math. And within the past couple years, I've shifted more into leaning on my intuition, leaning on sources that aren't quote unquote logical to really help guide me in the direction that I want to go in and understand how to open up my receptive capabilities versus trying to go out and make it happen. You may also want to think about strengthening your connection to your body through exercise, something that's going to get you in a high vibrating energy. Yoga, you may listen to some music, but it's all about boosting your joy, boosting your vibration, which then allows you to boost your intuition because you're more in touch with yourself. And if you need help activating this energy, so you can do something physical, even me right now going on a walk, work on your breathing, do breathing exercises. They even have breath work courses or classes that you can go take to help you connect with your receptivity, receiving the breaths, receiving from the universe. And observe just being, people being natural in their daily lives and not necessarily looking at people as they have an agenda. A lot of that just comes from us projecting what we think people are doing or not doing, what they are not going out and getting, versus them being more receptive and watching them. And maybe we could learn to be more receptive from just watching people be themselves, and then naturally learn to balance the taking action, because there is a time to take action, but balancing that with the receptivity. Other things that this gate brings up for me about receiving is making room. Comes up for me, particularly around just having a lot of things going on and being unable to receive. This is kind of like you're eating, and you get full. But for me, I've been eating things that I didn't necessarily want to eat. It was like a meal that was okay. Like I could eat it and I'll finish it and it was good, but I don't want to eat this again. Like I'm done eating that. I'm full. I actually don't want any more. I want to make room for something else. So, what else comes up for me with gate 2 being the feminine to the gate 1 more masculine is we are moving, and you can see it today in like the news, or if you look at the back and forth in politics around men's issues, women's issues, the whole, I'm going to call it the backlash to the backlash. We had the whole women's rights era, and we had, what do we have going on? The Me Too that we had now. And you can see the world is starting to recognize and think more feminine for, pretty much since the beginning of humans, things have been more masculine. It's been more, you go and take the things that you want. If you want new land, if you want resources, you go and you conquer. You go and you take over the land, the people, to get the things you want. Whereas now, we don't really do that, right? If you haven't seen too many countries, well, there is one doing it currently, but not too many countries are going around and grabbing land from other countries, right? They're not going out and taking action. Right now, we're being more receptive. That's why we have the UN, the United Nations, you have the EU, all these other groups that use diplomacy, that use talking with each other, and use other means of getting to their goals versus going out and taking things in the more masculine. And since the beginning of time, we've been masculine. We are starting to turn that corner and enter into a more feminine world. I was talking with a good friend of mine, and we were talking about our situation where I haven't been working a full-time job since August, and I've been taking care of my son. Right? I'm basically a stay-at-home dad, and I love it. He's also a stay-at-home dad as well. And so in the mornings, we're together with our kids. All our kids, both of us have a son, and we are hanging out at the pool, playing sports, just being dads and being sons. Well, typically, I want to say typically, let's just say back in the day, it was the other way around, right? The woman was going to work, or the man was going to work, and the woman was staying home and raising the kids, right? So we don't have that completely. Like me and my wife run our businesses together. Me and my wife run our businesses together, but she works more in the day than I do. She's in our office doing work, or in this case, the things we enjoy to do that she enjoys doing on a more time in the day, and I'm spending a majority of my time during the day with Sage, which I love. Again, it's it's actually what I've always wanted, but that could be seen more as a feminine role versus masculine. So that's what comes up for me when I think about this gate, and the world is moving more towards feminine. It'll balance out. It always does. Except for a long time, it's a masculine world. We'll be in a feminine world. We've been moving towards more of that, and it will just continue to balance itself out. We'll be the feminine a little bit. Well, sooner or later, it'll go back to masculine, and we'll get to an equilibrium. But I think that's why we have a lot of relationship issues, is that people don't know, not say people, men and women, they don't exactly know what role they're supposed to have, right? Is a woman supposed to receive? Is the woman supposed to go out and make it happen? Because the women are in a masculine world where they say that's supposed to happen, but then when that does happen, the rules get flipped, and so men are confused. Should I be receiving? Should I be more in my feminine? And society's like, no, you're a man, be a man. And it's like, well, who's gonna be feminine, right? And when I say feminine, I'm not saying it in like a derogatory term. I mean, there's always two sides to everything. There's the masculine and there's the feminine. There's the yin and the yang. Been that way since day one. And so if we're going to, as men and women come together or work on our relationships, we got to realize that it's got to be part of any relationship is the masculine and the feminine, and that there's time for taking action and there's also time for receiving. So this week is the time to receive. So make sure you're doing your meditation, make sure you're clearing up any blockages so that you can receive what's coming to you this week. All right. So if you want to learn more about human design and be a part of a community of people who are learning to use their human design to have more soul sex in their life and to become so successful, sign up to join my community beta, link in the description. And also, if you want to have a one-on-one session about your human design and learn more about how to design a life that is about you, that is set for you, we can do that through a soul successful design session. I'll also put the link in the description below. And as always, have a great day.